Because we've always done it that way. The infamous words that you probably don't want to hear, especially when it comes to training, when it comes to uh, sports performance. It's those old coaches who never change, never develop any new skills, new habits, new ways of doing things. They think that they've always done it, it's always worked, or probably hasn't worked. That's why they'll always stick to that same thing. I see this a lot, like I said, as I said, with training, with sports. These coaches who are just stuck in their old ways. They see anything new, anything different, anything outside of the box, and they just throw it out without ever trying anything new. And can doing the same thing over and over work? Yeah. But again, is it the best way to do things? Probably not. Most people aren't critical thinkers. They don't think for themselves. A lot of it's just drinking the Kool-Aid and I used to be the same exact way. Coming up on training, I was all Joe DeFranco. I love Joe DeFranco, all his stuff. That's kind of what got me started in kind of this journey to coaching. And then into other people that kind of drink their Kool-Aid too. And then I still do a lot of Joe's stuff. Don't get me wrong. His philosophy is good. But it's adapting that and not just doing his stuff by the book. Or it's not just taking the personal training cert, whatever it is, NASM, ISSA, ACE, or whatever the other ones are, or the CSCS, the holy grail of all things, everything, that you have to have that to be smart. No, you don't. It's taking that stuff from the book and just going directly by the book. You're not going to get results by that. You're not going to help people. You're not going to move people forward and progress them by just doing these things that have always been done. Just because it's happened in the past and worked in the past doesn't mean you can't do something different. You don't have to follow the norm or stay inside the lines. I like the color outside the lines. Get outside of your lane. I hate when people say, oh, stay in your lane. No, get outside of your lane. Who cares what those people are? It's mostly these coaches who are trying to ride their hide horse, or I see it a lot, especially with a lot of dietitians. They think they know it all, and they're so perfect because they went to school for so long and studied and did all this stuff, and whoop-de frickin' do. Yeah, a lot of them are great, a lot of them are good, but again, just because you did something in school, you did something for many years, doesn't mean that new things can't work too, or there are better things or better alternatives out there. Everyone is different. I'm different. You're different. Bob down the street is different. Yes, there are basic fundamentals. Of course, you need exercise. You need to eat well. You need to sleep. You need to manage your stress. You need to recover. You need to move a lot. All these basic things work, but within each of those basic big rocks, foundational things, whatever you want to call them, we need to figure out what works for ourselves. And it's these old school coaches. Oh, I've always been doing it this way. I'm never gonna change because a lot of times they're just too lazy. They don't think. They're afraid to think for themselves. They're afraid of change. When most of the time change is good. You see it in sports. You see it with football, where maybe it's a new offensive, and now is more spread out, throwing the ball, shorter passes, RPOs, whatever you want to call them, run pass option. You have the option on every play to run pass on every play. That's basically what football is. You run or you pass. But again, it's change, and people are afraid of it and don't want to change. These old school coaches, that's why you see so very few teams that run, in college especially, that run the wishbone. You basically have the academies, and why do they do it? Because they don't get the athletes that all the other schools get. So they stick with it. They're stuck in that way. Even sometimes now you see them adapting and changing and throwing a little bit more. So it's those coaches who won't change, even take Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson, these freak athlete quarterbacks who can throw and are faster than wide receivers and running backs. You're not going to take them and stick them in a pocket passing offense where you're just throwing all the time. You're going to use their abilities. At least a good coach does. You're going to, yes, you want them to pass because they're good passers. Michael Vick was a great passer. He didn't have a great touch a lot of times, but he had a cannon for an arm, and he was faster than anyone else on the field. So you're not going to make him stay in the pocket. You're going to utilize his skills, his abilities. Just like you're not going to take Peyton Manning or Tom Brady and run the option with them. Yeah, every once in a while, Peyton could do an old naked bootleg and get you 10 yards just on a goal line play or whatever it is, or a short 4th and inches. But you're not going to have him back trying to run a read option all the time because he's slower than molasses. Same with Tom Brady. They're not good athletes. They're great quarterbacks. They're not athletic. They're not fast. They're not able to outrun anyone. So you got to fit with your skill. You see this a lot, especially with the high school. They just put their offense. They're not going to change because that's the way they've always done it. That's how it was when I was in high school. Our coaches, we had a ton of talent, a lot of skill on wide receiver and backs and stuff like that. But instead of running a spread, 4 wide, 3 wide, we ran a power offset line when our lineman average was like maybe 200 pounds, if that. So you don't run a power offense when you have tiny little offensive linemen. So it's these coaches who stuck in these old ways. It's not able to change or not willing to change and learn new things and grow. That's what it should be. Because when I hear those words, it's how we've always done it or something like that. This is the way we've always done it. Or we're not going to change. This has worked for us in the past. It will work for us now. That's when I hear it and I run. I get away. Those aren't the people I want to work with. I want to work with coaches who are open-minded, who are changed. And again, I used to kind of be like that. I used to drink the Kool-Aid from all these coaches and think that this was the way that things had to be done. But then you realize there are a million ways to get things done. Whether your goal is weight loss, whether you want to get faster, you want to get stronger. Getting stronger, you can do 5-3-1. You could do Westside. You could do any method really. Find some program and do it. You can get stronger as long as you're progressively overloading. You're consistent. You're eating enough. You're sleeping enough. You're moving more weight each week or trying to anyway. You have intent. You have purpose behind each lift. You're probably going to get stronger. Again, you could do a conjugate method. You could do the 5-3-1. You could do Olympic lifts. You could do machines. There's so many ways to do it. You got to find what works for you. And trying new things is not going to hurt. Usually it's going to help. It's going to get you out of that comfort zone. Because when you're stuck in that comfort zone, that's when you get stale. Things get stalling out. That's when progress slows down, is when you're not willing to do new things and try new things. And that's because we've always done it this way. And it's not just training. It's not just coaching. It's business. It's life. It's everything. Yes, we have traditions. We have things we enjoy and we do often. But that's not saying that just because it's always done like that is the way it has to be done. And it goes for conditioning. You see it a lot. Or speed training. Where most coaches, I spoke on this in the previous video, on how speed training is. In conditioning, people think that speed training, just running and running and running, that mental toughness training or whatever you want to call it, where they're just beating people into the ground. But then you got new thinkers coming into the game like Tony Holler or Les Spellman, and they're more based on just speed and then you're resting, and it's like, oh, it's okay to rest. You don't have to be doing something all the time because that's just going to be making you tired, because when you want to go faster, you got to be rested so you can be fully engaged and give your max effort each rep, each set, each sprint. So this football is a big thing, and football season starting here shortly, and it's that you got to be the toughest team, and you got to be sore and fatigued and stuff like that. And yes, that stuff is going to happen. uh, but you can also be fast. And practices don't have to be run the same way they always have. You can be smarter. You can train harder, and you don't have to train for 3 hours. You don't have to practice for 3 hours, because a lot of times that you're just wasting a lot of time. It's the same kind of with that whole first person to arrive, last person to stay. That's a lot of crap, I think. Get in, get your stuff done, and go. That's usually the best way to go about it. Whether it's training, whether it's work, whether it's shooting a basketball, hitting a baseball. Again, that whole more is better falls in line with that. That's the way we always done it, because more is better. More. No, it's not. Better is better. Quality is better. Focus on that. Focus on finding better ways to get things done. Be more efficient. Work smarter while still working hard and getting. And I'm not, by no means am I saying do nothing. Do what's needed. Find the optimal amount of sprints, of lifting, of practice. Not just because, we've always practiced for 3 hours. That's why we always have to practice for 3 hours. No. You could probably get most of that done in an hour. Hour and a half. Most of it's just your ego as a coach. Your coach's ego to I have to be this because I'm the boss. I have to show them the rules. I am in control. No, get out of your own head. Get out of your own way, and you'll probably see more progress. And the same goes with you, yourself. If you're training, you just want to look better, feel better, move better, be an athlete for life. Just because you've always done something some way, and then you wonder why you haven't made progress. Because you're still eating garbage. You're not sleeping. Your training is 3x10 this, 3x10 that. Because you've always done it that way, and it worked for you in the past, so you're going to keep doing it. But then you realize, you look in the mirror, and you haven't changed. You haven't done it. You're aches and pains and beat up and tired and lacking energy. And it's okay to change. It's okay to find something new and try something new and get out and open your mind is where it starts, is by opening your mind to new thoughts, new ideas. Look at the other side. Look at what someone else has thought. Maybe it's somebody you don't always agree with. Maybe it's a coach you don't always agree with. Maybe it's finding a new YouTube video or an Instagram or a new program from someone, because we're so closed-minded. No one's ever going to change our perception, change our the way we think, unless you do, because no one thinks for themselves anymore. We're so drinking the Kool-Aid. We're so bought in on all this junk, our thoughts and actions based on how we were raised, the people around us, the things we do, the environment we surround ourselves in. And then we get lazy, we get comfortable, and are afraid of change. And the way that it's always been done, that's just the way things work. Whether it's tradition, whether it's just laziness, lack of change, but a lot of times it's just that willingness to open your mind and think for yourselves, and we're letting someone else control your mind and your thoughts and actions, and you control that. You have that power, and don't do things just because that's the way they've always been done. Be someone who wants to change and find better ways and be creative and use your imagination, especially with training, with coaching. Training is nothing. Nothing in a book is training. Yes, they'll tell you that personal training book, that CSS fundamentals book, that nutrition book, that they'll tell you that's how it has to be done. And yes, there's great information in books. I'm not saying don't read. Get out there, read, find, and explore. But take these new ideas. Think for yourself. Try something out in training. Do something different. Do a different movement. Do a movement a different way. You don't have to squat a certain way. You don't have to bench press a certain way just because someone told you it. And that's how it's always been done. You got to bench, squat, and deadlift. No. You don't have to do any of those lifts, honestly, if you don't want to. There's plenty of great ways to build muscle, build speed, build power, build strength. So again, just the whole point is just for you to start thinking for yourself and not be one of those people who just does things because that's the way they've always been done. yes, if something's working, keep doing it, but then you're gonna add on to that and find some ways to maybe do those things a little bit better, a little bit different. They could be more efficient, get more done, build more muscle, build more speed. If it's business, get things done quicker, faster, make more money. That's the same thing. You think about the people who achieved great things. They were innovative. They were controversial. People looked at them as weird. Like the Elons, the Bill Gates, all these people, especially with like technology in the strength and conditioning. You look at David Wex and people like that who people think are just goofy and they have all this weird stuff, but a lot of times their stuff works. It works for them. It works for other people. A lot of it, there's a lot of garbage out there that doesn't need to be done, and then these people just do it on social media to get likes and stuff like that. But there's a lot of stuff that looks goofy and crazy, but it's effective. It's not. One of the guys I follow is I don't know his actual name is Train Like a Savage. I think it's his Instagram, but he's doing all this crazy stuff, especially with baseball pitchers and stuff like that. And it works. It works for him. There's a lot of different ideas, a lot of concepts, and if you read about it and actually figure out why he's doing it, or people like this, these creative, imaginary people are doing stuff like this, and then you explore and use it. Or Dak does a lot of stuff. Like, I never was into impulses before I saw his stuff. I started playing around with them and enjoy impulses. So I follow a lot of different people now that are thinking outside the box, because that helps me get more creative in my coaching, in my training myself. People like Yoakum, Dak, Will Rattel, Locken at Workhorse Training, all these different guys that have different thoughts. There's too many to name, like the ones that I follow. Still follow like Jody and Jim and Smitty, because those guys are kind of the OGs that kind of got me into it, and helped me a lot after going through their certifications and meeting them and doing their programs and stuff like that. But it's also taking on these younger guys that are bringing new ideas and stuff like that, because that helps me open my creativity. Because growing up, I was a creative kid. I loved Legos and using my imagination and stuff like that. I used to be good at drawing and stuff at one point too. I kind of fell off the table. I lost interest in the art stuff, but I always have loved Legos and the imagination. And seeing these people and using their stuff to spark ideas and think of things in my training and how I can I saw that exercise is cool. I want to try and pair that with something that I've done, or make my own spin on it, or things like that, rather than I'm just gonna do squat, deadlift, and bench every single day because that's the way things have always been done. No, that's even like Louis Simmons. He was crazy for his time, bringing the West Side conjugate method, whatever. Yes, West Side is conjugate. It's not necessarily West Side, that type of thing, but his ideas were crazy at the time because he thought outside the box. He colored outside the lines. He wasn't just stuck on doing things the whole way because that's how they're always done. And I believe he was always trying new things out up until his last days, which is something that I think everyone should be doing, is experimenting on yourself. If you're a coach, experiment with your clients and train them and use different things to see what can work. Maybe things are done different. A lot of these new speed coaches who are focusing on actual speed and changing, like Tony Holler, Les Spellman, bringing new ideas to the table and utilizing those new ideas so we aren't just stuck in a rut and in this old boring way of this is how it's always been done, because it isn't. It doesn't have to be. You can color outside the lines. You can get outside your lane. Be a free thinker, an experimenter, an innovator. If you're a coach, if you're training yourself, heck, if you're in the business world, whatever it is, whatever you do, be innovative, be a creator, use your imagination. Don't do things just because that's the way they've always been done. So if you want to unleash greatness, be an athlete for life, get outside that box, color outside those lines. Hopefully that helped, guys. Hopefully that gave you something to think about. And we'll talk again soon. Thanks for watching.